Welcome back to Asgard, and today I wanted to cover kind of a culmination of some things I've done in some of my series and whatnot, and it's kind of some advanced mechanics that you can use with applied energistics that aren't, the basic stuff like crafting and, setting up a controller multi-block for channels, stuff that's a little bit more advanced and some cross-mod compatibility that some people may not have thought of, or, at least hopefully you'll get something out of this video that'll help you. So the first thing that I want to do, I've already set up just a small AE system here, nothing too crazy. I've just got an ME drive, some crafting multi-blocks, and then our molecular assemblers and interfaces. So the first thing that I want to cover today, we'll start with some of the more basic things. For starters, let's say, and this one's a common one, I know a lot of people probably know about this, but if you have an ender chest, say you set it up right here, and let's just put an import bus connecting into that, and then just run a cable there. That's going to connect that ender chest to your system, and it's going to pipe items out. So then you can just make an ender pouch, assuming that you have the ender storage mod, and let's throw 32 chests in there. And you'll notice they start getting pulled out of the chest there and put into our ME system. So pretty basic. Next up, P2P. There's a really nice thing that you can do. I know a lot of people probably are familiar with it. Let me grab some of these. I forgot to grab. It's kind of running out of space, as you can probably tell. And then we're going to need a memory card. With this, you can actually expand the amount of channels that you have by using, let me find it here. We'll want this dense cable, and we'll want, say, some Fluix cable. So what we can do is we can, say, connect this dense cable down right here, bring it out. So we've got 32 channels there. We can use this P2P and then connect it to a cable and run it through with this. And then we'll set up a controller, and then we can just use our quartz fiber to bring over power from this, from this system to this system. Whoops, wrong cable. We'll just use the Fluix. And now the quartz fiber is only going to send power and not channels. So if you notice now this has power. And then we can do another dense cable line running out here, and then bring it out, say right here, and bring just our smart cable through and set up our P2P there. And then we could bring out our dense cable line. And we're still going to want to bring power over, so let's do that really quickly. Just like that. And let's get our, oh, you know what, I don't have any, let me grab some soaryn smart cable. Oh no, it's smart, sorry. There we go. So now we could bring this out, and this is going to carry 32 channels, but in order to link that up, we're going to have to shift right click on our P2P tunnel that's coming from the AE system, and then come over here, and then we can just right click on this P2P tunnel, and it's going to load our settings. So now if we hooked in, say, a terminal right here, we've got access to all of our items. And of course you could use machines or whatever you want. So that's a way to really pull out of a lot of channels, because this one cable line, you could do 32 connections here. So you could have a bunch of connections all pulling from this side, going into the dense cable line, and then 32 coming out this, because the only thing that's using any channels is the P2P, and they're only using channels from this Fluix, this separate system. So all of this is free for your primary system. So kind of a nice way to multiply your channels, and also to transfer a lot of channels, you know, across like a short distance or something, if you want to connect them to a different building or something, or have one, you know, Fluix line running a bunch of dense cables all around your base or whatever. You could do that. Sorry about that. The next thing that I want to cover, and if I'm going too quickly through this, feel free to ask any questions. I kind of wanted to make the video kind of short and cover a lot of stuff fairly quickly. Next up, we'll quickly cover how to set up a super soaryn drive. So generally, if you, let's see, we'll actually use this for an example right over here. So we've got our smart cable line here, and we're going to connect, I know I've got way too much cable here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So generally, you know, that's going to use 8 of 8 channels. And if we put another one here, that last one is not going to connect to the system. So basically we've got too many channels running, and it's only going to get these first 8 and not this last one. But what we can do is we can take ourselves a storage bus, throw it down on this, and then connect it to an interface. And you want to use a flat one for this. Actually, you might, yeah, you should be able to use a normal one if you want to, but I always use flat because it only takes up one space. And then we could bring out some more smart cable here and just connect power into this. And then we could add, let's say, I don't know, a chest right here with a storage bus on it. And so that should have been all the channels. So, or wait, let me break one of those. Okay, now we've got enough channels. Because you're going to need 7. You're only going to be able to use 7 on this first one. And these additional ones, if you want to keep expanding them, you're only going to be able to use 6. So maybe 6 ME drives or something, because you're going to need a slot for this interface, then you're going to need a slot for a storage drive on this end or above it, however you want to lay it out. But with this chest, say I threw in all these ender chests, and then we come over here, look at our terminal, we have the ender chests. Now this does not work for crafting, so if I set up a bunch of machines here for auto crafting, that wouldn't work because this is only for storing items. It's all you can use it for. But it's kind of nice because you can pretty much run all of your storage off of just one line. And it could be as massive or as small as you want it to be. So kind of a cheap and easy way to really expand your channels there. So really between the P2P method and that, you know, your ME controllers can go really, really far with a really minimum size. Next up, I want to cover something if your pack has logistics pipes. This is another cross-mod compatibility thing. But you may be familiar with the right here, the wireless terminal from Applied Energistics. It's really nice if you're around your base. I tend to use it in addition to what I'm going to show you. But the problem with the wireless terminal is if you go to another dimension or you travel out too far from your base, you're not going to have access to your AE system. So you know, it kind of becomes a hassle with that because you have no control once you get out far unless you set up a quantum link system or something. Okay, welcome back. I wanted to go ahead and cut really quick to get the items for this next thing, because we've actually got quite a bit of items that are needed for it. But if your pack has logistics pipes, there's another really nice setup that you can do. We'll get just energy source right here. It's already set up for max power, and we'll put down a power junction, basically so our logistics pipes can get power. And then what we'll do is we'll just bring out some basic logistics pipes to about right there. Yeah. And then we'll put down just an ME interface right here. And then we're going to put a logistics chassis Mark 1 will be fine. And then get yourself a provider module, and then just shift right click it on there, so that way this has the provider module. And then we're just going to come over here and let's set up an ender chest right here. And now if you recall, we've still got this ender pouch linked up to the one over here that's importing into the system. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take and color this any color we want. Then just shift right click your ender pouch on it. It's going to copy the colors. And then what we can do is we can set a remote orderer logistics pipe onto there, and then right click it with the remote orderer, you know, the item itself. And then what that's going to do is that's actually going to link our logistics system up to our ME system with this provider pipe connected to the ME interface. And then let me turn it to day here. And then this remote orderer, if we want to, we can oh, did I not get that on there? Okay, there we go. It was right click, not shift right click, my bad. And then if we open up our remote order, we've got access to all the items here. Say we want to get ourselves 64 iron. And now it went pretty quickly. If we open up our ender pouch, there's our 64 iron. And I threw away the other ender pouch, but anyway, we can put that back in the system now. And so that's a way to get access to your items no matter what dimension you're in, no matter how far you are from your AE system. If you have logistics pipes, you can set that up fairly easy. This stuff isn't all that expensive to create, and it is really, really handy. Now, one thing I will say that you should note, you cannot auto-craft with this. It's not going to give you access to any of your auto-crafting. Like, for example, in here I have the ability to craft 64k ME storage cells. That's not in here at all. You're only going to have access to the items that you have in your system physically at the moment. But it's still kind of nice. So now we have an automatic way to insert into the system and extract. So I tend to make the wireless terminal for using when I'm around the base, you know, because you can put 64 size upgrades into that, or I can't think of what they're called. Wireless boosters, right? Is that correct? Actually, somewhere in here. Oh, having a total mind blank on that. Yeah. I believe it's wireless boosters, though. Let me just look up boosters, actually, instead of just derping around in that. Yeah, wireless boosters right here from, oh, I don't want those, but okay. Which are fairly cheap to craft. Now, they do increase the power cost, but I tend to run them once we have a stable power system. You know, once you're getting into advanced applied energistics, chances are you have a lot of power. So, because power is pretty easy to get. So the next thing that I want to cover is another fairly quick and fairly easy thing. Let's teach our system to make, I know what we're going to teach it to make. Let's get ourselves some coal, and let's get some sticks. And let's throw all that in there. And we're going to teach it to make sticks. Okay. So if you want to keep a certain amount of items on hand, I tend to use it for things like torches, when that way I can just remote order those. Food, also anything that I use a lot of to make applied energistics systems, like items and stuff, so like your processors and your pure Certus and stuff like that. Where do I want to set this up at? Let's actually just, we'll bring this out a little bit here. Okay. What we can do is we can set down an interface here, and set a storage bus onto it. And then we'll link that up. And then what we can do is we can tell it, let me grab a torch actually. Okay. We can tell this interface to always keep 64 torches on hand. And it should do its job now. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it should be the interface. Oh, wait a second. I know what I did wrong here. Don't want all those. Okay. There we go. Just right-click them in, or left-click. I don't know why it wasn't working before, actually. I have no clue. But anyway, that's going to keep 64 torches in here. So if we pull all of these out, is that all the torches that we have in the system right now? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. So then what we can do is we can give this interface a crafting card. And here in a second we should see, there we go. We're getting torches. It's crafting those for us and keeping them in the system. So if we open up this, you know, we've got 64 torches in here. So let's request 64 of those. And we'll refresh this, and there we go. We've got 64 again, and we've still got the 64 in there. So, you know, you can do that for any kind of item that your system can craft from start to finish. You can have your system keep whatever on hand. So like I said, I tend to use it for things like bread and torches, so that when I'm out I can order those. Also anything that takes a while to craft that my system's going to need for crafting. And then the last thing that I want to show you is actually a fairly new design that I built out on my Sky Factory series. I actually built it today. And it's a multi-step build, so let's go ahead, just remove a couple things here from our inventory, and those, and that. Okay. So one thing that I like to set up is I like to set up, you know, let's say, you know, over here I've got all these terminals, right, that have, you know, no storage items in them. But what we can do here is let's, actually it's kind of far. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run some smart cable here. And we'll set up a terminal right here just so that we can see the items that are in here. And then we'll set up another line, and we're going to use, let me grab some different colored cables that we haven't used yet. Smart cable sounds good. And we're going to use magenta for this. And what we can do is, let's set a magenta cable here. So of course they don't connect since they're different colors. We'll set a terminal right there. And then what we can do is we can bring this over. And we're also going to need to make this a subsystem. So let's bring, say, this over maybe. Actually, we'll do that. And we'll set a controller up just right here. And some quartz fiber so that this connects, it gets the power. Then we'll bring our smart cable over, and then we'll put storage buses along the top of this. And then we'll run our cabling over. And so now what's happened is this has become a subsystem that manages the contents of the ME drive. So normally if I just connected, say, this cable into this ME drive, it would actually break the system. See, this isn't connecting at all, because now this is linking two different systems together. See, it's all turned red. We can't access any items. But since this has a storage bus that doesn't transmit, you know, the storage bus isn't going to transmit channels between it and the ME drive. So what we've created is we've created a subsystem where we can monitor the storage drives that are in the ME system. So let's grab where's it at? Get a couple 64Ks. If I was to come over here and throw these into this ME terminal, it's going to just chuck them into one of these ME drives. And the nice thing is, you know, you could set this up, theoretically, you could set this up on the same system as your main system, but it's going to fill all your terminal up with ME drives, and it's just going to look tacky. But with this, we have a separate terminal where we can manage and move and everything, all of our ME storage cells. So it's kind of nice. The next thing that I want to show you, though, is we are going to set this subsystem up so that it auto-crafts from our main system and fills these anytime it needs storage. So if, you know, if say one of our storage cells start to get some items in it, so we've got overflow coming into another storage cell, it's going to automatically go ahead, auto-craft another one, and get it for us. So to do that, we are going to need at least one chest, because I found that this doesn't work if you just straight connect and import and export together. It doesn't seem to want to connect. We're going to need that and that. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we are going to in that. Okay. Let's set up, we'll bring it out, I guess we'll just bring out a separate little system here for now. That'll be fine. And we will connect a export bus up right here, and then we'll do an or a chest. I was gonna say an import bus, but we gotta do the chest first, and then we'll do if I can find it here. Am I blind, or did we something happened to our import buses? Oh, here they are. Okay, we'll put an import bus onto this chest here, and then we can just run our cable up like that. So we're now going to configure this export bus, and we're going to say you're only going to export 64K ME storage cells. So nothing else should come through this. And then we're also going to give it a crafting card. And wait a second. Because if we do this now, it's probably already doing it, actually. No, not yet. Okay, cool. We're going to give this a crafting card, and we're going to give it a redstone card. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring out our magenta line just to like right there, and then we're going to stick a level emitter on there, and we're going to say it's going to emit a signal when it has a 64K ME, at least one of them. So what this means is it's going to specifically look for an empty 64K ME storage cell. So if it doesn't have one in the system, it should emit a redstone signal. Or if it if it has one in here, it's going to emit a redstone signal. So if I was to go over here and throw one of these 64Ks in there, you notice the redstone torch came on. And so what we'll do is we'll set this export bus up to work without a signal. So as soon as this signal goes off, there's no more ME drive in there. You know, it'll switch. Now you could, if you don't want it running, you could say it emits when it's below the limit and just switch this to run on the signal. It really doesn't matter, but we're just going to set it up this way, so it's only going to craft that when it has no signal. And then we'll run this cable over, and so now what's going to happen is if we pull this 64K ME storage cell out, there you go, it just made another one and sent it through. Now it would normally take longer because I've just got 64Ks already made and stuck them in here because it's a bit faster, and it wasn't quite so many steps to set up. But, you know, if you have a 64K that can craft from start to finish, it'll craft the whole way through and just make one and stick it in here for you. So that way you can always have at least one empty. So what will happen is if let me go ahead and actually break, yeah, let me just go ahead and break this connection here so that that's not connected anymore. So as of right now, where are these connected to? Where are these coming from? Oh, that's right, they're in that chest over there. Okay. I was kind of confused for a second. So let's say I go ahead and throw in... Actually, let me break that chest just in case, because it may try to throw the items into there, which wouldn't really be ideal. We don't really need that anymore anyway. But let's say I threw those basic logistics pipes in there. So this now has an item. And if we give it just a second... Do your work. Do your work, do your work. This is set up. Yeah. Where did it put it at? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's because I don't have the items in there. Okay. So... let's grab, say, this sail, and we'll just bring this one over and throw it in there. I forgot I cut off the items that we used to craft it. So if we give it just a second, you notice it crafted another one for us. And it crafted two. That happens sometimes because it doesn't, you know, after it hits this chest here and moves through this system into there, that whole time the signal's turned off. So sometimes, now generally you wouldn't have one ready to craft at the get-go. But what it'll do is it'll go ahead and request another one a lot of times. But personally, I tend to set up one of these interfaces to always keep a 64K. So that way, as soon as one starts getting items, it goes ahead and throws another one in there and gets it ready to accept. But, you know, if you don't want that, you could always use a... you could always set it up with redstone to not do that. You know, to kind of give it a second before it sends out the signal, that kind of thing. With, like, say, a timer. And it'll get that signal, it'll activate the crafter, and then it'll have to come back around before it activates it again. And that way, you know, it wouldn't do that if you really don't want that to happen. But me, I personally don't mind it. But of course it depends on the pack too, so if you're playing something that resources are a little bit more difficult to come by and you don't just want it to craft an extra 64K for you, you know, you could set it up not to do that. But yeah, so let's see, actually, okay, yeah, couldn't remember if that had a setting to just pulse it. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions, I think that about covers everything that I wanted to cover. Like I said, I wasn't going to cover just like auto crafting and like how to set up a wireless terminal and singularity, stuff like that. If you guys are interested in seeing a video on that, though, let me know. I just figure I know a lot of people probably already understand, you know, the basics of applied energistics. But I hope you guys learned something from this episode today, and if you guys do have any questions, feel free to let me know. I hope I covered it in detail enough for you guys, and you know, if there's something that you would like to see, feel free to let me know. I know I've got a request to do a mod spotlight. I'm going to get to that fairly soon. I've been kind of busy here lately. But anyway, if there's something you guys really want, like a tutorial or something on, feel free to let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, as always, please comment, like, subscribe. It's very, very much appreciated. And if you have any pointers or stuff, I'm still fairly new to making videos, so if you guys have any pointers, feel free to let me know, and it's very, very much appreciated. And by the way, if you're curious, the pack that I'm on when I'm making this tutorial right now is Crack Pack. So if you guys are wondering why there's chocobos running around and geishel greens planted into the ground everywhere, or sheep running about. That's actually because this is from Crackback. So, but anyway, I hope you guys join me for the next episode. Or I hope you guys join me for another episode, I guess. And until next time, do take care, and I hope to see you guys later.